US business leaders are offering mixed reactions to the steep trade tariffs that the Trump administration has imposed on Canada, Mexico, and China, with the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal calling it the dumbest trade war in history.
미국 트럼프 행정부가 캐나다와 멕시코, 중국에 부과한 높은 무역관세에 대해 세계 지도자들이 엇갈린 반응을 보인 가운데 월스트리트저널은 이를 두고 사설에서 역사상 가장 어리석은 무역 전쟁이라고 표현했습니다.
Yeah, because of time zones, there has been a change while we were sleeping, so I'll update you as well. But first off, on Saturday, Donald Trump put in these tariffs. Canada and Mexico, he hit with a 25% tariff on imports, China with 10% on imports. And for Canada, it was about oil and energy products at 10%, but other things at 25%. The Wall Street Journal, one quote from them was, Mr. Trump's justification for this economic assault on the neighbors makes no sense. And we saw Justin Trudeau come out yesterday and say something quite similar. However, overnight Korea time, we've seen two postponements happen. Trump talked to the leader in Mexico and also talked to Justin Trudeau, and both of these tariffs have been postponed by 1 month. Reactions in the US have been mixed, but the consensus is, for example, at Yale University at the Budget Lab, they're going to say that these tariffs would cost the average American household something like $1,000 to $1,200 in annual purchasing power. So if these tariffs do go ahead, they will have a big impact on ordinary consumers, not just in the US, but also Canada, Mexico, and the rest of the world.
네. 여러 가지 반응이 나오고 있습니다. 반응이 엇갈리고 있다. There are mixed reactions.
Yes, and when we talk about a reaction is how someone responds to something. And in this case, we're talking to a piece of news. We often have pundits giving their reaction. Having mixed reactions means there are both good, bad, and something in between. For example, as a movie director, you don't really want mixed reactions to your movie. You want a good reaction to your movie. You want everyone to love it, but that's not the case. Many movies have mixed reactions, meaning some people like them, some people don't.
네, 반응이 엇갈린다라는 거를 영어로 There are mixed reactions라고 표현을 할 수 있습니다. 자, 그다음에 editorial board 이 표현이 지금 나온 이유는 월스트리트저널의 해당 기사 This is the dumbest trade war in history라는 이 기사를 누가 썼는가? 그래서 보면은 editorial board 이렇게 써 있거든요. 이게 뭘까요?
So the editorial board is a board of editors. And in news, an editor is different to other kinds of editors. Normally, when we think of an editor is someone who will edit a film or a document, will check it or change it or make it better. However, editors in newspaper, they often control a department, and they will be responsible for organizing the writers and saying you need to write about this, write about that. So they're some of the most important journalists on the newspaper. So this editorial board is basically the top journalists at the Wall Street Journal who've come together to say this.
네, 이 사설, opinion 섹션에 있었던 기사인데요. 그 사설을 누가 썼느냐를 봤더니 바로 이제 편집위원회 editorial board라고 써 있습니다. 누구의 이름이 들어가 있는 게 아니라 그래서 그 표현입니다. 다시 한번 제가 읽어볼게요. US business leaders are offering mixed reactions to the steep trade tariffs that the Trump administration has imposed on Canada, Mexico, and China, with the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal calling it the dumbest trade war in history. Let's move on to the next headline.
Microsoft mogul Bill Gates has opened up about his life and named the end of his 27-year-long marriage to Melinda French Gates as his biggest mistake.
마이크로소프트 창업자 빌 게이츠가 자서전을 통해 자신의 삶에 대해 서술하면서 전 부인 멜린다 게이츠와 27년간의 결혼 생활 끝에 이혼한 것을 자신의 가장 큰 실수로 꼽았습니다. 사실 이 얘기는 이 자서전 출판을 앞두고 영국에서 했었던 인터뷰에서 직접 했던 얘기인데요. 선생님 설명을 좀 해주시죠.
Yeah, Bill Gates has been quite a private figure very often. He's not like some people who release tell-all autobiographies all the time. And so this is a big deal. His memoir source code is coming out. And he was interviewed by the Times of London, and he said that this divorce to his 27-year wife, Melinda French Gates, was the mistake he most regrets. They separated in 2021, saying their relationship was irretrievably broken. And before then, they'd been this power couple in terms of charity. We'd seen, the Gates Foundation with them working together. It was one of the world's largest private philanthropic organizations, helping people all over the world. So Gates, what matters to him? It's not his billions. It's not his computers. It's the fact that his marriage ended and he regrets that the most.
맞아요. 그 Times of London이라는 그 잡지사
newspaper, yes.
신문사와의 인터뷰에서 이렇게 얘기를 한 거였군요. 영국에 가서 한 게 아니고. 그래서 이제 뭐 여러 가지가 후회가 되지만 그 중에서도 특히 와이프 멜린다 프렌치 게이츠와 이혼한 것이 내 인생에서 가장 내가 크게 실수한 것으로 좀 후회한다라는 얘기를 했다고 하고요. 그 자서전의 제목은 source code인데 그 안에 뭐 여러 가지 내용이 들어 있을 것 같네요. 지금 설명 들은 바대로 개인적인 내용도 들어 있겠지만 또 회사를 운영하면서 겪었던 여러 가지 에피소드들도 있을 것 같고요. 이제 마이크로소프트 CEO라고 하기도 하고 billionaire라는 호칭도 많이 붙고요. 그런데 여기서는 he's a mogul. He's the Microsoft mogul.
Yes.
What's a mogul?
M-O-G-U-L. This word mogul is one of the words we use to describe rich, important, powerful people. Tycoon, magnate, mogul are all words that can be used for successful billionaires. But we're usually going to use it for someone who's in business very often. So we talk about a movie mogul or or a clothing mogul or someone who is very important in this industry or this sector. Basically it means very rich, very famous, very important.
네, 거물, 굉장히 중요한 인물을 mogul이라고 합니다. And to open up.
Look, Sue, I've been meaning to tell you about this expression.
What?
I haven't been able to explain it to you before, but now I want to be really honest about it. I want to open my heart to you and tell you that the expression open up means exactly this, to talk really honestly about something you've never talked about before, usually in public.
Well, I'm touched. I'm moved. Thank you so much.
Now your turn to open up.
All right. So my secret is no. Opening up는 마음을 열어놓는다라는 뜻이 있기 때문에 이제 마음속에 있었던 얘기들을 이 책을 통해서 또 인터뷰를 통해서 했다는 거죠.
Yeah, it's an expression that we'll often see being used in media when a celebrity gives an interview about some particular topic, some private topic for the first time. They're opening up about this.
네, 마음을 터놓다. Open up. 자, 다시 읽어볼게요. Microsoft mogul Bill Gates has opened up about his life and named the end of his 27-year-long marriage to Melinda French Gates as his biggest mistake. Now let's move on to the final headline.
Researchers have warned that countries must unite to include space stewardship in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to address an escalating threat of orbital debris.
지구 궤도상에서 늘어나고 있는 위성 잔해 문제를 해결하기 위해 유엔이 채택한 지속 가능 발전 목표에 우주 쓰레기 관리를 추가해야 한다는 학계의 경고가 나왔습니다.
So we already have the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, and these are about, protecting the world from the future in terms of ending poverty and hunger, in terms of combating climate change, of protecting our environment, our biodiversity. But these scientists, these researchers from universities and from NASA are saying space sustainability needs to be added to this list. Because we have over 100 countries in the world involved in space activities. Since the 1950s, when we first started getting up there into the stars, almost 20,000 satellites have been launched. And the big issue is collision with so many bodies up there in the air. And by bodies, I mean things, objects in orbit around Earth, there is a greater and greater chance that they will collide.
Yep.
And they will then fall down to Earth and cause who knows what kind of damage. They call these cascading collisions known as the Kessler syndrome, where it's literally just collision after collision after collision could mean that whole areas of our orbit would become unusable.
Let's look at this term, Sustainable Development Goals, also shortened to SDGs.
Yes, so we have a goal is a target, something that we're aiming for. Development is about improving or making something better. And sustainable, we use this word a lot when we talk about saving the environment, means we can keep doing it. We're not going to use something that's going to run out. For example, fossil fuels are not sustainable, but wind power is. So sustainable development goals are things we can keep doing to make the world a better place.
네, 유엔에서 SDG라고 해가지고요. 지속 가능 발전 목표 이렇게 표현을 하고 있거든요. Sustainable Development Goals. 전 세계가 함께 목표로 해야 하는 것들, 전 세계를 어떻게 지속 가능하게 만들기 위해서 함께 해야 되는 그런 목표들이 되겠죠. Sustainable이라는 단어가 들어가면 지속 가능하다 이런 의미가 되겠고 escalating threat.
Oh, so a threat is some kind of danger, something that's going to cause us damage or cause us problems. And if it's escalating, well, think of an escalator in the subway or at a shopping mall, and think of the escalator going up, meaning it's increasing. If something is escalating, it is increasing in size. So you can have escalating profits, yahoo, your company is doing well. But if you have escalating threats, that means the threats are getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
그렇죠. escalating이라는 것은 반드시 위쪽으로 올라가고 있는 상승하고 있는 이미지 생각하시면 돼요. 에스컬레이터를 연상하면 되기는 하지만 이제 좀 헷갈릴 수 있는 이유는
네.
에스컬레이터 우리가 타고 올라가기도 하지만 또 내려오기도 하잖아요. 그러니까 에스컬레이터만 생각하시지는 말고 사실 영어의 escalate라는 단어는 반드시 올라간다라는 이미지를 가지고 있다는 겁니다.
I'm sorry, Sue. I was wrong, and I don't want you to be angry, so I'm going to de-escalate the situation now.
아, 그렇죠. 상황이 한참 고조됐을 때 그거를 누그러뜨리는 거를 de-escalating이라고 합니다. 그렇다고 해서 우리가 let's get on the de-escalator 이렇게 말하진 않아요. 그거는 또 별개입니다. 자, escalating threat는 늘어나고 있는 위협. 다시 한번 제가 읽어보겠습니다. Researchers have warned that countries must unite to include space stewardship in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to address an escalating threat of orbital debris. All right, well, that's it for the headlines.